In a revelation that is a surprise to many Americans and not a surprise to everyone else, it turns out Americans are unhealthier than the next 16 other developed countries. According to the studies, Americans die younger from diseases such as obesity and heart disease. They are far more likely to be murdered and die in car accidents, the research at the National Academy of Sciences found. Experts are saying that the U.S. culture has a lot to do with it, and that policymakers need to take action right away to turn things around. I mean, this is one of those contradictions of capitalism. The higher a form of capitalism may have, the more contradictions there are within it. Despite having access to the most resources in the world, in even some cases even an outright monopoly of those resources, still the opposite is happening. You have access to the most resources, therefore should be the healthiest and should have the best kind of social system according to right-wing ideology. Yet we can clearly see the opposite. Not only is the U.S. social system breaking down, but clearly its healthcare doesn't work at all. Americans spend more than $8,600 per person every year on healthcare. Now that's twice France, Britain, Sweden, and they have universal healthcare systems. I mean, that's the usual saying that universal healthcare systems are wasteful, they're inefficient, they're too expensive. Yet every country that has a universal healthcare system spends half as much money per person. I mean, it shows time and time again. Any study will show you a universal healthcare is not only gives better health, it's more cost efficient. But always this grim specter of big government is coming to take your money away and make your healthcare decisions for you is coming at any minute, and this is why you can't have universal healthcare. It's a complete lie. I mean, I have a universal healthcare system. I live in it. Other people don't make my healthcare decisions for me. It's just completely untrue. But fear-mongering is something the right wing needs to use. The whole right-wing movement behind healthcare is nothing but a complete freaking tool of the entire health insurance industry anyway. Because, I mean, the facts do not correspond to what they're saying. I could go off on a completely different tangent right there. Essentially, they're paying twice the cost with getting nowhere near the same level as coverage. Yet we don't live any longer, and we are not healthier, the report by the National Research Council and Institute for Medicine finds. The NRC and IOM, both parts of the National Academies of Science, provide advice to U.S. policymakers. National Institute for Health asked them to compare the health of Americans to people in Canada, Australia, Japan, and 13 European countries, including Britain, France, Portugal, Italy, and Germany. Now, there are 9 key areas where Americans did worse in terms of infant mortality, injury and homicide rates, teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted disease, the AIDS virus, drug abuse, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, lung disease, and disabilities. All of these things were just complete massive failures for the first world. I mean, there's only slightly higher rates of this depending on the individual topic there. Only some of them are actually worse in the third world. I mean, this is just, it's just a complete failure. I mean, private healthcare system, which is what the United States has, besides some little whiny idiots on YouTube, when you have it run by private companies, profited by private companies, paid for by private insurance companies, but somehow in their mind that means it's socialism because they're retarded libertarians. Well, there were a few bright spots, however. Americans have lower death rates from cancer, which is the number 2 cause of death, and do better at controlling blood pressure and cholesterol. Americans who reach age 75 can expect to live longer than people in their peer countries, the report reads. Now, the United States does have a much higher infant mortality rate than other countries, with about 32.7 deaths per 100,000, which is a lot higher, and some third world countries actually have a lower infant mortality rate than the United States. Again, one of those contradictions. Despite having access to the most amount of resources, the most amount of technology, and the most amount of money, and yet still these problems are actually worse in countries who have less access to resources and actually have less money. Now, despite all the advantages of the first world and the elite being the elite of the first world, these contradictions of capitalism still remain throughout, despite the claims by the right wing, and particularly libertarians who claim that a privatized version of healthcare will actually create better, because the people will be incentivized to remain healthy because they'll have to pay. I mean, reality is just giving the complete bloody opposite. Americans with the most access to resources, money, everything, all of that, still have worse healthcare than people who don't. A universal healthcare system not only works better, it has healthier people. I mean, the whole healthcare debate in the United States is just nothing more than a complete joke. It's nothing more than a pro-market, for lack of a better word, clusterfuck with no facts, nothing backing up what it is they say, leaving 47 million Americans without any kind of healthcare insurance to have less coverage and lower health than countries who would guarantee it to everybody. I mean, the right wing could not be any more wrong on this issue. It's completely ridiculous. A universal healthcare system works. And it's just proven time and time again in terms of cost efficiency, actual result. It's just complete garbage. A universal healthcare system is far better than anything else there is, and nothing short of complete blithering ignorance would tell you different.